one of the things that's hard for me with this is like because of the previous trauma culture that we coming from out of it, we adopted a new culture where we were, I guess you would call it, attempting to pave the way as like building a plane while we flying, right? So we're trying to add pieces to what our culture currently is. But then it gets hijacked and then said it's American culture. And then we try and separate from that and try and find ways to differentiate into how it's just our culture. But we keep running into this game because we don't have any cultural walls to keep someone out and say, hey, this is ours. As soon as we get something that we enjoy and like, it gets appropriated and it's no longer ours. And then somebody will make the argument, that's not your culture, that's American culture. We kind of in a weird space when it comes to that.
Yeah, but American culture is everybody else's culture. American culture is an amalgamation of everybody else's culture, bits and pieces from here and there, and it's created some Frankenstein of a culture that we have adopted as quote unquote American culture. But if you really look at the foundation of where it was started, the tradition, etc., it's not really it's not really domestic to where people are from. You know what I'm saying? It's something that is imported or some influence from another culture that has immigrated to America, right? And sort of you get to experience, see, and enjoy that culture in real life, in real time, without having to go to that foreign country or that foreign nation.
So when I'm speaking about American culture, I'm talking about like what we would typically deem like American black culture, right? A lot of that is created in the on the fly. It may have derivatives and roots from other places, possibly, but a lot of like hip hop, right? That's one of the main things we would say is the culture. That's like black American culture, and then it's removed. Like the top selling artist of all time, I don't think is even a black American, right? It might be Eminem or Macklemore or something like that. Then how do we lay claim to it if we don't even own, like, because we don't have any cultural walls? I just keep going back to that. There
It's
is no
Drake now. It's Drake. So half and half.
You know what it is,
And
Marcus?
he's Canadian.
I think Marcus, what we got to do is the way we got to lay claim to the culture is by not giving it up. Like you mentioned something. You were basically mentioning how like our culture gets appropriated and it's almost like so we're trying to create something new all the time. So it's almost like our culture becomes this like opposite thing, like where our culture is a counterculture. Where every time the culture changes, we're trying to be the opposite of it. But I think that puts us in a position where we end up having no foundation. So rather than trying to be a counterculture, I think we just need to stake our claim on what's ours. And if it gets labeled as American culture, then that's fine because at the end of the day, isn't that what Black people have been fighting for all this time anyway? To get to acknowledge our influences and our contributions to the American culture. So it's like, yes, American culture is Black culture, and I feel like at some point we have to accept that and stop trying to create this different culture because it's not different. Like it is American culture, and we have to embrace that. That's what it is. This is where we live. It's American culture, and we can't run away from the fact that it's American culture because we're just going to keep finding ourselves destroying and rebuilding and just starting over and over again, going through this cycle of trying to create a new counterculture to the culture because we got to throw out the old and get something new. It's even like you hear this in hip hop all the time. Oh, so and so is too old to be rapping. What are you talking about? Why do we have to throw out our old culture just because it became popular and became consumed? You don't hear that argument with rock. You don't hear that argument with country music. Their artists get old and they become legends. So I think we have to treat our culture that same way. We can't just dispose of it because other people like it now. It's not just not cool all of a sudden just because everybody else likes it. We have to
You
still
know
put
what?
our stamp on it and say, yeah, yeah, we know everybody likes it, but don't forget that's ours.
You know what's funny about that? Rock and country was originally our culture. Rock
But
was
those
our,
are perfect examples. We threw those out
yeah.
because as soon as they became popular, we let them take the culture. We just said, oh, we don't want rock and country no more.
Don't
We're gonna
forget
do
jazz.
jazz now. We're gonna do hip hop now.
Nah, they
And then we don't
stole
want to
that,
do hip
bro.
hop no more. We want to do trap now. Then we don't want to
Nah,
do
they
trap no
stole
more. We
that
want to do
clout.
drill.
That was stolen. Nobody gave that away.
All of
That's
them was stolen.
crazy.
No, but think
He
about it though.
said,
How many of us are teaching our kids how to play rock instruments? You can't say it was stolen when we're not preserving the culture. White people are investing into teaching their kids how to play
yeah.
guitars, how to play drums, how to play, like
Well, that
the
part I
idea of a garage band is like a white
here's
culture
our
thing.
greatest. I'd say here's our greatest failure as a people. Anytime somebody brings a check to buy a part of your culture, we sell it. That's really the problem. You know, everybody could have been like, no, not for sale. And the worst part is if you don't sell it, they will steal it. So,
Mhm.
you know, in America, every bit of culture that's created gets assimilated into the greater culture. Because when you think about it, the first time I had ever seen this representation, I'm from Virginia, for those of y'all that don't know, 757 area. And then Allen Iverson was the biggest thing ever, right? When he was getting hot. To see white kids braiding their hair in the back and putting his jersey on and his headband, I was like, what? There's nothing you can do about dope shit. If you display it, somebody's going to want to emulate it and replicate it. The worst part about it is that we don't make it to the market before they do to sell our stuff. You know, that's the craziest part about it.
I'll do you one better, Trigger Mike. The ambassador to a French ambassador's son who was braiding his hair just like Iverson in France. So
Damn.
it talks about it's not only local, it's international. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
sort of like I
Yeah.
don't think we can't contain it and put boundaries and say that this can only go this far and this limit. The cat's out the bag. That man, if Mars got up and going, everything that we would have here, they would be doing on that planet as well. We have gone globalized at this point, but it's important to understand where the origin of it, the story of it, and the foundation of its relevancy has in the impact of what it has on the current popular culture today. That is
Mhm.
something, that story and that sort of historical arc has to be consistent, right? It can't just be left abandoned for somebody else to pick up the fumble football and run it into their favor.
You
Exactly,
know what's
Luis. Look,
wild?
if we look at for example, like Mexican culture, America has obviously appropriated Mexican culture when it comes to food. But that doesn't mean that
Mm.
when you go to Mexico, they're going to start serving pizza now. No, when you go to Mexico, you're still going to get Mexican food. You're going to get a more authentic version of Mexican food. So we just have to make sure that we preserve the authentic version of the culture. It doesn't matter what the consumer version of the culture is. There's Chinese food in every hood in America, but guess what? You go to China, you go to Sichuan province or whatever the case is, you're going to get that quality Chinese culture. They know what the real culture is. And when
Yeah.
they sell it to us, they don't sell us the real one. So we got to learn to do that too. If you want to sell the culture, sell it. Just don't sell them the whole sauce.